There is a town in Africa that looks like a fairy tale. Cookie-shaped rooftops, bright colors, tall palm trees. It feels like a fairy tale too. The women in this town all wear white. The houses have high, tiny windows, just like the castle in Rapunzel, and it takes years to dig a well. But one December day, we got to peek behind this town's sand-colored walls, and the fairy tale instantly became very complicated, and because of that, remarkably interesting. Welcome to Ghardaïa, a town in northern Sahara, in Algeria. It's not particularly difficult to get to, but there are two major buts. First, you will need to apply for and get the rather evasive Algerian visa. And second, as a foreigner, you will be escorted by police everywhere you go. These guys followed us to the desert, coffee shops, and museums, and all I can hope for is that they had a good time. When you do make it to Ghardaïa, you will learn that this is a town surrounded by harsh desert sands, a town with very intense traditions. The women in Ghardaïa wear white, and the white they wear has to cover them fully. If a woman here is single, she can keep her face open, uncovered, but once she gets married, she can only show one eye. When walking in the streets, women are encouraged to avoid men they don't know, and the town itself is built to make this easy. For example, you will see these little gaps in the walls in the narrow streets. When a woman runs into a man she doesn't know here, she can retreat into this space safely until the man passes. Some streets here even have signs, which means they're designated for women only. Though today this is more of a tribute to tradition, and most streets are open to everyone. The people who live in this region are called the Mozabites, or Beni Isguen, which means sons of the Mizab Valley. And you may sometimes hear them being called the most reserved people in the world. Showing off, wearing flashy clothing, or demonstrating your wealth in any way is really uncommon here. Mozabites are natural traders, and to this day, trading and commerce remain the primary source of income for many families here. Here we are walking through the town market, where you can see local trade in action. Another popular occupation for people in the region is craftsmanship, and you will find lots of colorful fabrics, carpets, and pottery here. But even if the trade is going well and the family can afford a very good lifestyle, you will probably never get to see it on the outside. Modesty is highly valued here.
They are selling motorcycles, essentially.
I think maybe it's their motorcycle.
Ah, it's parking.
Another important value is privacy, and it feels like it's built into the city itself. The windows in the houses here are not only tiny, they are crated and curtained. More than that, if you look closely, you will see that the windows in each house will never look into the windows of the neighbor's house. This is why they are arranged so haphazardly. The doors to all the houses are usually locked, and even if they aren't, you will see multiple sheets covering house entrances to prevent strangers from catching even a glimpse of what's happening inside a home. And even if you manage to sneak a peek inside a house, you will see a long hallway leading deep into the home itself. This is yet another layer of protection to keep the inside of a Mozabite home as private as possible. Now, did you notice anything unusual? I mean, apart from everything else. There are no stores in the streets. To buy things, you will need to go to the nearby market. Yet again, this is done to help people, and mostly women, avoid mixing with strangers in the streets. The Mozabites follow Ibadi Islam, one of the oldest Islamic traditions. Rules and quiet discipline play a big part in daily life here. Marriages are made for life, and it is often the mother who chooses the bride for her son. Sometimes the only way the bride and groom may see each other before the wedding day is in a picture. Dating as a concept doesn't really exist here. It's hard to say how many of the old traditions are strictly observed here to this day. But as you walk these narrow sandy streets, it does feel like the desert is a very reliable lifestyle gatekeeper. And from what I've heard, the Mozabites, even when they travel away from home, stay committed to their ways of life. Being part of the community is very important here, even if you move away. Neighbors, even from before, are expected to support one another in difficult times. And it's not considered an act of informal kindness. It's an unwritten, but very real rule. The Mzab Valley consists of 5 walled towns built between the 11th and 14th centuries: El Atouf, Bounoura, Melika, Ghardaïa, and Beni Isguen. Ghardaïa is the biggest one. A lot of these towns are only open to outsiders for just a few hours a day, and during these hours, a lot of locals choose to stay inside. Capturing glimpses of real everyday life here isn't easy, and there are rules to follow. In some towns, you're not allowed to smoke, take pictures of people, or wear anything from H&M's summer collection. When you first enter any town in the Mozab Valley, it does indeed look like it's something out of a DreamWorks cartoon. You can almost see Shrek and Donkey walking through this gate, for example. The shapes, the colors, the sand dunes behind the wall all make this whole experience feel almost magical. But life in the desert is no fairy tale. One of the biggest issues here is water. In fact, this whole town is built around it. This is an old city well, and the palm tree next to it is no coincidence. There is a very justified belief here that no drop of water should ever go to waste. So, when people get water from the well, and some water drops do make it to the ground, they are meant to water this very palm tree, the only tree in the whole town.
And the palm tree is here for every drop of water, if there is a drop of water.
The well is still functional, and while it has been modernized, the idea of value in every drop of water lives on. The walls in the town are sand-colored, and you will see these little dents. This is because date seeds are mixed into the lime to make the walls stronger and better resistant to heat and humidity. This is a place for gatherings and events. The holes in the wall are meant for the Quran, and these pieces of palm tree hold the ceiling together. But this is not your average palm tree. It's a special type of palm tree used for construction that is said to last over 1,000 years. To procure these palm trees, the Mzabi used to travel as far as 200 kilometers on camels to get the best possible materials for their town. A lot of towns in the Mozab Valley were built in the 11th century, but they seem to be remarkably well planned. Every opening in the town walls here has a purpose. For example, these openings are meant to protect the town from an attack. These windows are just big enough for the towners to shoot from, but also small enough to protect them from those firing back. The streets in Mzabi towns are very narrow, and this too adds an extra level of security, this time within the town walls. With the streets this narrow, you will always be able to see who is around you and which direction they are headed. So if a thief was running away down the street here, it would be very easy to spot them and see which direction they are going. After walking for a few hours in Ghardaïa, the small windows started to make a lot of sense to me as well. The sun here is so bright that it seems to be burning right through your retina. In fact, if you ever choose to visit the Mozab Valley, a pair of Ray-Bans will come in very handy here. On the outskirts of the main towns, the houses start to look more ordinary, but they do keep the same theme: sand-colored walls, tiny windows, and unwavering respect for privacy. There is a museum near Ghardaïa where you can sort of peek behind the veil of secrecy and see what a Mozabite home looks like on the inside, at least looked like on the inside a few centuries back. This is the bedroom, the most private room in the house, hence no windows and very heavy carpeting for sound isolation. You will notice a lot of geometrical shapes in the house decorations here and very few depictions of animals or people. The homes themselves often feel very mathematical and structured, but somehow very welcoming. And we were lucky enough to be actually invited into a real local home. Not all the way in, but just enough for a minor insight. After traveling for several days through the Sahara on a bus and making it to a place with a way of life so different from what you are used to, there was this feeling of uneasiness that slowly started to set in. At least with me. You suddenly realize just how far away from home you are. And as we were walking down a dark, narrow alley towards the unknown, this feeling grew stronger than ever, and I actually started to appreciate the two very bored policemen following our every step. We approached a gate that I didn't even know was there. It looked like part of the wall just opened up, again, just like in a fairy tale, and we were welcomed into a real local home. The fire was burning, our hosts were busy making dinner, and suddenly it felt very safe and familiar. This is where I reconfirmed one thing for myself. No matter how different a house may look like on the outside and on the inside, a home is a home, even if it's 2 a.m. and you're on the edge of the Sahara. And here are the many cats to confirm my theory. The food in the desert is hot and hearty. This is chicken stew with olives. And this is marduma, literal translation, buried chicken. And I had salad because being a vegetarian in the Sahara is really looked down upon. Now, up to this point, both you and I have been in a town with small windows, limited water, and strict tradition. A town that values modesty and privacy above all. And yet, this is also where I've had the chance to attend one of the most unique and genuine dance parties I've ever been to. Now, the Mozabites don't drink alcohol. This is something they and I have in common. And truth be told, they don't really party, at least not in the conventional sense. But that evening, on the edge of the Sahara, our hosts made an exception for us. At one point during the party, we were offered a local party favor. Meet the mysterious ginger drink. Now, drinking something you don't know with people you've never met before is rarely a good idea. But what is a travel vlog without bad decisions? Song and dance in this harsh environment feel like a natural release. And honestly, I don't know how the Mozabi do without them. And even though I have not danced in public for years, here I was most tempted to make an exception. The mysterious ginger drink turned out to be a natural energy booster, and in the region it is often given to newlyweds on their wedding night. The effect it gave me reminded me of the times when I worked in China and mixed espresso with Red Bull to keep up with my teaching schedule. In short, it really works. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next adventure. With a latte, of course. Have a great day.